Okay, so I'm Nick Angelis from Alleviant Health Centers, because you can tell from my scrubs and the sign above my head. And I'm with the Josie Delta Performance. This is, I believe, our fifth time doing this, because we did anxiety and sleep and nutrition and fitness and maybe one more.
Yep.
I'm not really sure. I guess nothing. This is our fifth.
No, I think you
So I'm excited, and I already started without you guys out there. What?
Awkward silence.
And so we're talking about biohacks today, which is that's the best thing about using Be Alive. I'll finish, and then there'll be a 10-second lag. It's basically like every worst Zoom meeting ever, except that no one's walking around planning to wear their clothes or whatnot. But other than that, this is like brilliant Zoom meetings from work. So biohacking is basically nutrition and fitness and a lot of other things. I don't want to reiterate what I already said while I was trying to add you on. But basically, it's sort of a gimmick, to be honest, in that the concept is you're already healthy. Let's see if we can make a superhuman out of you, because you have unlimited time and resources and energy to become this wonderful human who takes all these great supplements. So we're not really looking at it from that angle. We're just kind of taking out of that gimmicky culture what we can that's useful and applicable to make people healthy, as opposed to these superhuman monsters on all sorts of supplements that they don't really need. So should we start talking about food as biohacks first? I know we had mentioned, which I'm really proud of us too for even talking about this beforehand, since we usually prefer to just talk about whatever comes to mind for the topic at hand. But that's also because you're an expert on a lot of this, so we don't really need to really plan other than here's the topic, here's the wisdom I have for it. So did you want to
I would say I'm a little bit more knowledgeable than the average person, but I'm no expert by any means. I don't have a RD or anything like that. I just a couple certifications. But yeah, so food as a biohack. Is that what you want to talk about?
Correct. Yeah, so, I think that's a great topic to start with, and we'll see what happens.
So as far as like recommendations that are put out there to make you super duper human, like so catch me up on what you're looking for, because you could talk about superfoods or
so one example would be superfoods is one. Another one is Dave Asprey and his, I know the lag is so terrible, and he does Bulletproof Coffee, which is basically coffee with some healthy fats put into it.
Yep.
It's supposed to help you have more energy throughout the day. Some people use it for coffee enemas, which is a whole nother show that we could do, because that's a fun, awkward topic. So basically that concept where in many cases it's the use of healthy fats as some sort of almost a nootropic or almost a substance that will just feed your brain and make you into a superhuman. So yeah, I guess we can start with that then.
Okay. Well, if you want to talk about the Bulletproof Coffee, I don't know a whole lot about super foods. I keep my recommendations pretty light as far. I mean, so the way that I typically approach nutrition is just whole foods. And what I've learned, even with all of these recommendations that are put out there of like things that are good for you, things that are not good for you, like is Bulletproof Coffee, is it superhuman or is it not? What I've learned is that you just have to find what works for you. Say that again.
Oh, I said, as this example, I think it's fairly overpriced coffee myself, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, it's, I think that the food industry has gone, just like any industry, I guess, that you can look at through history, has gone overboard with things that they recommend. And, this whole keto fad has brought on has brought on things like the Bulletproof Coffee, like start your day with healthy fats and throw in some what is it, butter and coconut oil, right? Butter and coconut oil.
Right.
Put that in your coffee,
Yeah,
and you're sure to have a good frothy day. And you know, there are, I don't want to knock on keto, because there are purposes for everything that's put out there, but for the majority of people, that stuff doesn't, it's just a fad. Like, it's just like anything else, and it doesn't have the long-term benefits that I think people are so apt or so quick to want that magic pill, that one thing that's going to work for them. And unfortunately, the truth of the matter is it just takes hard work and consistency. I hate saying that, but that's what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. Right, because I think a lot of times, even for what we're doing today with this live stream, most of the time for these sort of things, people are like, let us tell you the secret that's going to change your life. But we're like, no, here's just some simple things that you can do and maybe save your money. I don't know. There's a thought.
Yeah, I loved while you were trying to figure out
grocery store that
while you were trying to figure out the whole live thing, I really enjoyed the recommendation of starting with the cheapest supplement first that you find at the store and going from there. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, you didn't spend a whole lot of money. And that's a really good approach to that, because we could talk supplements for weeks and not even begin to graze the surface of it. Because I mean, I know 3 people just in my itty bitty circle that own supplement companies, and it's like, the barrier to entry is so low that you can, I mean, I can throw something in it's not that simple, but I can throw something together and be like, hey, it's my supplement. It's really good for you. Take it. And you can find a lot of this stuff in just eating whole foods. Now, you, on the other hand, have a lot more information.
Yeah, I probably get about
specifics. I love this.
I love get probably about 5 requests a week. Me too. Like, are you done? Oh. We should have like a signal that says like, hey, I'm almost done with my sentence. This is your cue to jump in and interrupt me. So when I scratch my head, it's like, it's going to be your turn real soon. Yeah. But you're right. I was saying probably about 5 times a week, I get some offer to either start my own supplement company or have something here at the clinic that can sell to my patients or something to that effect. Usually essential oils, often seed oil or paint. But the problem is that to have a complex product, to have something that will really sell itself to people, a lot of these companies you don't know what worked. If it doesn't, you know what your body reacted to.
Yeah.
And it makes sense in some that, okay, the way that natural medicine works, you have to take the whole plant, and there's different constituents and phytonutrients and flavonoids, and all these combinations are what makes it work. But usually it just means there was one good thing in there, and the rest was not enough quality, not the quantity of the herb that you need to do anything. And so you wasted your time. So there's a pain supplement that I use here at my clinic, but that's because it has only 5 or 6 things in it. And I know what's in it, and I can tell that this is what works. And I don't use anything else for my patients. It's the only one. And so a lot of times when you're first getting into supplements, you'll find something that's for a specific ailment, and it has so many different ingredients. And it is cheaper that way. And, you know, I am talking about cost and saving money, but it obviously is cheaper to have one supplement with 20 things in it, but you don't know which of those things really helped you, which was filler, which was just marketing at a large enough dosage to do anything. So yeah, I always tell people just start with one thing by itself, find a relatively inexpensive version of it, and then we can go from there, and then add one more thing. And the other thing is you have to make it sustainable. Like, until you're taking something regularly, there's no point. So I have some people who, okay, you need probiotics, you need 2 different types of enzymes, and you need 3 different herbs. But let's just start with one thing. And obviously, you know, at my clinic, we do a lot of mental health and pain. So I'm not just here saying, oh, here's your supplement for you, but sometimes you can augment what we do with a supplement or two. And it's that concept of just take this one thing, learn your body, see how it makes you feel, and then we can go from there. So, yeah. And then what you were saying about healthy fats and things of that nature, that is very helpful for sure. But I think what people don't realize is that your body craves these nutrients and then it gets them and it's ready to move on. So that's why keto, vegan, gluten-free, all 3 of those are different diets, but they can be amazing for people for about 3 months. And then their body's like, well, okay, I got what I needed for this. Now what? And so that doesn't mean it's a failure of the diet. It just means that that was great. Your body got what it needed. Now you can adjust. And that's really hard for people to understand because after a few months of something working, you get committed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, people start believing it. They don't want to change into anything else. It's like, no, it served its purpose. Now it's time to do the next thing. And I don't mean that in this, again, strenuous biohacking way where you're always tinkering, always trying to improve yourself. That's kind of tiring and not sustainable. But it is in that sense of you're on a path and a journey. So just continue it slowly, methodically, in a sustainable way.
Yeah, I like that analogy as well. Of
So
like you're always on a path and always on a journey. So your body is going to adapt with the changes that you give it because it's what your body does. It's a phenomenal thing. And when you start eating healthier, your body starts adapting to that healthy eating. But if you start, you know, taking things out, it's going to adapt to that as well. So you're right. After 3 to 4 months or so of eating that same thing over and over again, your body's eventually going to adapt to that, and you need to change it in order to continue to grow and move forward. It's a good analogy.
Exactly. Right. And so sometimes it happens with minerals too. So in alternative medicine, it's a branch of orthomolecular, where it really believes that, and I'm not saying I do or don't believe in this, for anything natural or alternative medicine, I just use it for what it does well and then forget the rest of it, because usually the science isn't really to the level where I'm really going to recommend this for people long term. But that's a concept where zinc, or heavy metals, magnesium, where a lot of the different nutrients and minerals are really important to your health. They can help with infections. They have a lot of effects that you wouldn't even think matter as far as your physical health, pain, mental health. So one concept is that of zinc. So this is what I consider to be a biohack. And there's a few different zinc supplements. Zinc picolinate you feel a bit better than chelate in some of the other versions. But again, a lot of times you can just find something in food, and it's an easier way to find out, can I tolerate this or not? Right now, meat is a really good source of zinc, but I don't know if you noticed this, but we're sort of running out of meat in the US right now, awkwardly. So even something like oysters are the food that has more zinc in it than anything else. And many people can't tolerate large amounts of zinc. I can't actually. And so eating oysters is one way to see, okay, do I need this in my diet? Do I feel like I have more energy? Is this improving my mental health? Which sounds crazy that I just said eat oysters and your mind will feel better. But for some of these things, it actually does make a difference, especially if it's kind of the opposite of what we think. Some people are so sick that a little bit of mineral will make a huge difference, as opposed to what I'm more used to, which is, okay, why are we tinkering around with all this natural stuff when they clearly need a medication to get them better? So yeah, it can make a difference for sure.
So Nick, how do you, like, a question for you, how when you have somebody in your care, how do you know what supplements, like what herb, what alternative thing they need to add to their diet? Like, how do you make those recommendations? How do you know somebody needs more zinc in their diet?
Sure. So you can do hair mineral analysis testing that actually sees how you're excreting different substances like mercury and cadmium and things of that nature. I'm not that great at it, honestly. For me, it mostly, I usually use supplements as something to help with what we're already doing. So, for example, at Alleviant, it's treatment-resistant depression, anxiety, pain. So we're already kind of far away from what we used to. And so we'll lead with those things like the transcranial magnetic stimulation or the ketamine infusions. We'll lead with things that can't get anywhere else, that do things for you that no other medicine can. And then once that works, that's when it brings supplements to play. Because I feel that if you start the other way, we like, look, I know that 5 doctors couldn't help you out, but I've got this supplement that'll change your life. That's too hard of a burden to put on something that may or may not work, or that's gentle, or may take months to work. So I go the opposite approach. Let's go with something medical, something that's cutting edge, something that's new technology. And then once that rapidly makes a change, then to sustain it, rather than a more expensive medical type of situation, let's look at these supplements for a way to enhance what we've been able to do for you already. Because with these ketamine infusions, 95% of patients, after a few of them, they'll feel much different, where 10, 20, maybe 30 different medications, interventions, procedures weren't able to help their pain or mental health. So at that point, when someone changes, then they're a believer. And they're like, yeah, sure, I'll try this. Otherwise, you might have a great idea, but they won't follow through. And so it's bad for them to think it didn't work because they couldn't stick with it long enough. And it's also frustrating for the practitioner. So I usually don't start with supplements. I'll start with, whatever the psychiatrist here at Alleviant recommends, or the nurse practitioner, or we'll talk to the therapist. Unless they come here because they don't want to try medication, because they want something more holistic. In that case, then right away, I'll consider things like milk thistle, because that's a way to detoxify your liver and sort of get rid of a lot of problems. Or there's different digestive enzymes that either help you digest food, or that kind of break down the biofilm of bacteria already in your intestine. I'm doing a study right now, actually, with 2 other clinics of the microbiome, how it can improve your probiotic intake, and also how ketamine and low-dose naltrexone together can protect you from coronavirus, which is something we're being cautious about, because that's sort of in the news, where everyone's trying to use all these different medications. But there is some really compelling evidence that I've seen even in my own clinic. So yeah, it's a case-by-case basis, but strangely meeting people where they are, meaning that our very philosophy depends on what the patient has already tried and what they're willing to try, which is a little disconcerting for some people. Like, why are you leaving it up to me? But it depends on the patient. In some cases, we can go with whatever their philosophy is. And because all of us here, it's cross-disciplinary for a lot of different practitioners, we can kind of take them farther with what they want to do than they usually can, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I like that.
And a lot of it too, what I do is I try to, we have a lot of supplements on hand, so we can try a lot of things without them having to go buy an entire bottle. So we can sort of cross out whole branches of either alternative medicine, or even different medical specialties at our office, just because, okay, we've tried this, or we don't think this is, because a lot of what I do is, I had a patient who was a pretty good candidate for a ketamine infusion, but I was like, I'm not completely convinced that this is what's gonna cure your pain completely. Let's do one of these and then send you to physical therapy, and we'll go from there. And so I did that, and I said, you know what, I think to continue with the physical therapy first. I think that's really what you need in this particular case. So, I mean, obviously that's why we work so closely together, is because when you have complex clients, or difficult medical cases, it's not something where you feel that you should take it all and figure it out for everything. Sometimes it's, okay, let me get you started, and then take you to the person who knows better. And that's obviously true with supplements. I feel that there's people in this town who are better than me at that. And so once I get to the point where, okay, you've done these 3 things I told you, you're doing better, now let me pass you on to somebody else. So
yeah, I like
so
that.
yeah, so I think that's basically the basic biohacking. That, again, as I was saying earlier, it's not Adderall and propanolol and ginseng and all these different substances to just make you be able to work 18 hours a day. It's like, well, you know what? Cocaine and methamphetamine can do that for a while too. So it's a pretty similar philosophy. What are you really doing? It's more the concept of how can you gently improve your cognitive performance and your ability to get work done without going to extremes.
Yeah.
And usually that means it's a blend of meditation and being outside in nature and healthy food. All in, I don't want to say moderation or balance, because I think both of us as business owners, balance doesn't really work. We do have to spend a ridiculous amount of time to be successful, and a ridiculous amount of energy and effort. But I would say it is just a concept of, if you do a lot of little things well, it's going to be much better for you than if you're inhaling some potent supplement. You have to remember, I mentioned reishi mushroom earlier. A lot of those capsules are, 400 times as potent as if you ate the actual mushroom. Well, at that point, this isn't really a supplement. You can call it that, but obviously it's a medicine. If you're taking something that's that concentrated, you can't pretend it's just going to have these little mild effects on your body. Like, you're taking something real. It's going to do something. And in many cases, especially in the concept of nootropics, they'll have effects very quickly. So I have some sensitive patients. I'll literally give them one supplement, and then the next day I'll say, what did I do to you? Let's go on from there and see if we need to, buy an actual bottle, or if we just want to immediately try something else. So it's kind of disingenuous to think of it as, oh, this is natural, it won't hurt me. There's plenty of empires that have risen and fallen because of supplements or for marijuana, and we'll go off on a tangent here. But just because something was originally from plant doesn't mean that it's going to have innocent effects on your hormone systems. Because our bodies are lazy. If we can get an exogenous source of a neurotransmitter or a substance, then your body's going to stop the production of that. Like, oh, you're going to do this for me? Okay, I don't need to make any more endorphins.
Yeah, I've always wondered what the long term effects.
Probably the last thing then is, right, and it depends on the herb and on the supplement. Some of them work really well with your body and it's not a big deal, but there's others that they slowly replace what your body should be able to do. And you can form a psychological dependency on supplements just as you can to medications, for sure. So I wanted to ask before we finish today, if there's any sort of physical biohack that you think of, like some sort of exercise or some sort of fitness practice that you feel really just improves the ability for people to live their life.
That's a good question.
And again, I'm not really saying give us the trendy exercise that will make you beautiful. And
there's not. The longer I'm in this industry, the more I admit that there's not one best way, right? It's gonna be the way that works for you. So we talked last time about you love playing soccer. If that's something that you enjoy doing, that's going to be something that you're more apt to do consistently. So it's going to bring enjoyment to your life. It's going to keep you doing it longer.
Right.
And so as much as I would love to say what Nikki and I do is the best, it's the best for who it works for. But for some people, it's not. Some people work really, really well with just going on a walk every day to soak up some vitamin D, and that's all they can do. And so when it comes to physical, it's just, there's no biohack. It's just doing something that you enjoy doing. It sucks.
Right.
There's no magic.
I think that's kind of a message for the day that, right. That this has been a fun broadcast because of that, because I think that's our theme, that, hey guys, biohack's a joke. There's a few little things that work for people, but for everyone it's going to be different, and it's going to be subtle, and it's probably a combination of things, and it will take effort.
Yeah, every person is different.
If you just think there's one magic thing that will help, then you're right back into the American medical mindset of just give me the pill and let me not change my life, and that just doesn't work. There is some effort and energy that you have to expend for it to do its thing.
Yeah.
our usual cheerful message. Like, you got to work at this. Sorry.
Gotta do it. You just gotta do it.
Okay, great. Well, let's move on now that we got it to work. We'll have to think of a topic for next week then. Something that we could, but this was a good one for sure. All right, well, take care. And your website is deltaperformancetraining.com, correct?
deltaperformancetraining.com. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you can just Google Alleviant and find it quickly as well for any of your needs. So, all right, next week then.
Thanks, Nick.